we did the quiz, but I guess we recorded that, what, early December or something?
It was either late November or early December.
It's been a long time.
I should have prepped the questions better, because listening back to it, it was a real mess.
It's a learning curve, isn't it? You think it's so simple.
Yeah. Somebody suggested, I don't know whether it was in the comments or something, but someone suggested that we should have drunk for it. Had some alcohol. And that was such a great idea. We should have done that. I know we were filming it at 9 o'clock in the morning, but who cares?
People have been desperate for an episode. At least 3 people.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a bit of a weird start to the year. I've taken on a lodger because, well, I need some extra money. It's been a weird few years, I kind of feel, financially. Like, everything was terrible for Brexit, terrible for COVID, and now we've got, like, the cost of living crisis. It's just one kind of bad financial thing after another.
Yeah.
And I've got a few big things to do on the house, like this flat roof that I've probably talked about on the podcast a few times. Like, I really don't want to do it myself, but I reckon it'd be £1.5 in materials. Like, I'll take on a lodger and help a friend out. And then they were over here and we're doing some decorating at between Christmas and New Year, and the boiler broke.
Oh no.
So this will be Matt's first rant of the year. So get a cup of tea, everyone, and sit comfortably.
Was it a combi boiler?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I had a problem last year, and I put a message on one of the local Facebook groups, like, for recommendations. And one guy direct messaged me going, I'm a plumber, live in the next village, I can come out, tomorrow. They're like, oh, that's great, being proactive. I mean, he didn't come out the next day because he'd cut his hand and stuff. Oh. But he came out, he hit the pump with a spanner, and it started working.
No way.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, give me a tenner. And I was like, fantastic. So I gave him 20 quid, and because I really appreciate it, and it's not worth your time. But he stayed around, we had a cup of tea and a chat, and can I book you in for a service? And he booked me in he said he was going to message me in the evening, didn't, chased him the next day, and he kind of gave me a vague date. Then I kind of waited 6 weeks, chased him, and didn't turn up, and I was just useless. And then it kind of got to Christmas, and then it broke, and so I messaged him about it being broken, I'll come in 3 days' time, because it was New Year. Didn't turn up, and I'd definitely be then. And it got to 10 days of not having heating, and this guy keeps telling me he's going to come, and then doesn't message, not turn up. And this is unbelievable. If you can't do it, just
let me know.
Just let me know. So I was like, I can't go through this again, with another person. And he had said it was probably 15, 20 years old, this boiler. So it's at the end of its life anyway. So I did one of those online things. You tick a few boxes, describe your thing. They give you a quote, drop down menu to pick the day, paid for it, and just got a new boiler.
Yeah.
And I want to use the local guy, but the big company turned up when they said and did it. But yeah, it's £2,000 at the start of the year was a nice thing. But that's the joys of owning a house, isn't it? There's just,
I suppose so. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the sink was draining slowly the other week, and I'll just get the plunger out, and it's amazing the force a plunger exerts on your pipes, and then the pipe started leaking because the joints on the waste because of my plunger action, and then it moved the blockage until it blocked it totally. So it's well done, Matt, you really sorted that problem out.
Oh no.
So, and then you start taking the pipes apart and see all the washers are perished. So I just buy new washers, and then that bit's gone, I need that. I should have just bought it would have been cheaper to buy the whole new thing than to keep buying components. Then last week is you got to really cinch the taps down because they're washer taps. I know I've got a tap reseating tool, but I have no idea where it is. And I've got to buy this and buy this, and then I can just buy some taps off Amazon that have ceramic thingies in them for 20 quid. So redid the taps. It's just it's mid-February and it's just been all plumbing related.
Oh dear. Is it draining okay now then?
Oh, it's draining okay, and the taps work, and I bought one of those 5 metre long drain snakes, but I never got into using it, and some drain unblockers thing. But I'd been ripping up one of the carpets, and I had just thrown in the garden all the carpet wooden strips, you know, things that have nails in, grip strip things.
Yeah.
And so I had a 2-metre one of them, and I just actually, from the outside, managed to pull the pipe apart and shove that down, and it unblocked it.
Oh, no way.
Once you've done it in your house, you know, like now I know where the pipes run and where they come out, and like, oh, it's so easy to get to everything.
Yeah.
But the first time you do everything, half the battle is actually trying to find out where everything is, isn't it?
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's nice when you get to a point where you kind of know your house like the back of your hand, and you know where everything is, and So my lodger was in, and they knocked on the workshop door the other day in a towel going, the shower's just cut off. Oh. And then it just came back on again, so it might have been an airlock. And then I went to have a shower yesterday, and it wouldn't come through warm, and I turned it off and on again. So it's like, one problem's like the pump, and one problem's the element. Is that on its way out now? Oh no!
So it's just, again, it's all plumbing, but it's I mean, electric showers are probably under £100, and I've done 3 before, and it's one of those, again, none of those jobs you think that's intimidating, like doing an electric shower, but there's a switch on the wall for it outside the bathroom, so it's easy to isolate the power, and it's literally like wiring a plug. It's 3 wires and 1 pipe. They couldn't be simpler to do, but it's just everything at the moment of things going wrong. But I'm sure you've been there with the house.
Things seem to happen in batches, don't they? That's the trouble. Yeah.
I mean, everyone moans about renting and it's expensive, and they compare it to mortgages, but owning a house is not just your mortgage bill. You've got to have that money around, because there's always something that's going to go wrong with a house.
Always maintenance to be done.
Yeah.
So have you got any resolutions for this year? I know it's a bit late for that now. It's nearly the end of February now when we're recording this.
Oh, I did have a couple, but then they're not very interesting to anyone else. It was watch more films. I love films, but I tend to binge watch like box sets on, like, but I watch a lot of videos about filmmaking.
Do you?
Yeah. And like, I'm just going to try and watch a film a week. So nearly the end of February, I've watched 1. So I'm doing terrible, but it's been a disaster of a year so far. So that another one was, I take pictures to actually post them on my Instagram. So I've been trying to do that. Just they're quite very achievable ones. It's no keep fit or cut out alcohol or anything like that. It's sit and watch movies. Another New Year's resolution for this year is I'm going to get back into making physical products, but much more high-end, one-off things, and not do a video, and probably not even tell my audience. It's going to be a totally different thing. Yeah. Just for my own sanity. Go into do some woodworking for the sake of woodworking.
Yeah, just enjoy the process.
Yeah, just enjoy the process. What about you? What have you got on your list?
Keep fit is one of them, although I haven't really started that either.
You've got to ease into it, haven't you?
Well, now I've obviously got an 8-month-old baby in the house. It's like I just feel so unfit, even just bending down, picking him up and stuff. I need to get myself in shape a little bit, but
being tired all the time doesn't help, I'm sure.
Exactly right. The only other kind of slight aspirational thing I've got, which is a bit of a pipe dream, to be honest, and I don't know whether I've mentioned it before, but I really want to be able to just buy a house to do up for content, to generate YouTube videos. I actually looked at a house, I think it was early January. Well, prior to that, I saw what looked like the perfect house for me, because it was really local. It was really run down. In all of the pictures, it looked like a drug den, basically, and someone had just left it in a right state. And I thought, this is going to be perfect for me. I want that whole transition of, looking messy to making it look nice. But that sold really quickly. And then I went to look at another bungalow, which was local, and that didn't float my boat as much, but it was pretty good. The bungalow that I viewed, I sent them a list of questions about various things that I'd spotted when I'd walked around, probably about 8 or 9 questions. Emailed it through. 3 or 4 days passed, didn't hear anything. So then I messaged the estate agent, and he said, "Oh, sorry, meant to tell you it had sold." So they didn't even bother responding to anyone's questions.
Yeah.
And they'd only had one viewing before I'd visited it. So things seem to be hotting up in the property market again, don't they?
Yeah, I think interest rates have calmed down a little, haven't they?
Yeah.
But because it was so expensive last year, just I imagine no one was buying houses and they absolutely had to.
But then I started looking into the whole financial aspect of it and just got put off the idea because someone explained that it would be difficult to get a mortgage on. Because I just thought, well, I could just get a mortgage on it temporarily, you know. But they kind of suggested that it would be difficult to do and I would need something called a bridging loan. And then I looked into that and that's like crazy expensive in terms of interest rates and stuff. So since then I've kind of thought, oh, then maybe this isn't going to be viable then. And it's kind of back to the drawing board to look at the financial sides of things to see if I could even afford to do it.
Mortgages are weird, aren't they? Because it's got to be a habitable property, as in...
That's right.
I can't remember what it is. It's got to have a bathroom or a kitchen or both.
Yes.
I can't remember the details.
I think you're absolutely right, because that was the question they asked around whether this bungalow was in livable condition, whether it could be rented out or not. And I kind of said, well, no, it isn't. And that's when they went down the bridging loan option.
Yeah.
I've got a lot to learn, and I don't know whether it'll ever happen. I don't really want to rent it out once I've done it either, because I don't really... I mean, I am a landlord currently for the house that I used to live in, but I was reluctant from the offset. I'm not really enjoying the process, to be honest, and the last thing I want to do is be a double landlord.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd rather just flip it and sell it and move on kind of thing.
It'd be good. No, that's a great project, though. I mean, you're never going to run out of content for almost a year, I'd have thought, with all the stuff.
We're remortgaging this year. We're actually going through the process at the moment because I think they're both... I say both, obviously the house we're in now and the house that I used to live in. I can't remember what rate it is, 4.76 or something, which is, way more than we're currently paying, unfortunately. But
still a lot less than last year.
Exactly. And obviously the mortgage advisors don't want to say you should only fix for 2 years or you should fix for 5 years or give you any advice because it's all on you, isn't it? It's all a gamble.
Well, as I kind of said at the beginning, the world's crazy, isn't it? Every time you think, I can calm down now, there's another crisis. Thing, like there's 2 massive wars going on at the moment. And I don't want to live here all the time, this area. In fact, went over to a town called Leighton Buzzard the other day.
Yeah.
And it's almost halfway between my mum and my sister. And that'd be quite nice. And it's on a mainline train to London that you can get there in like 20 minutes or something. Really nice little town.
Yeah.
But I can't afford it, but maybe I could in a few years. Having the lodgers also motivated me to do quite a lot of work on the house.
Yeah. Well, if you ever need another pair of hands for your roof or whatever, you just got to give me a shout and I'll make my way over.
Yeah, well, that's very appreciated, but I'm actually thinking... I was going to say a bodge, but let's not say a bodge. I built myself that nice shed last year that had the nice... those SIP panel roof or whatever you call them.
Yeah.
And I've moved all my stuff out, and now my friend has it as their store.
Oh, really?
For their crafting supplies, and bought a 8x6 shed for 350 quid. Yeah. And they're so bad quality.
Yeah.
It's just like they're terrible. Like the plastic in the windows is like wafer thin.
Yeah.
And I unraveled the felt for the roof, and I hate felt roofs. And the felt like cracked just as you're undoing it. Like, So I looked at felt repair, like, you can just buy this kind of rubbery paint. And I got a tin of that and did one coat. And then the weather was bad, and so I didn't get another coat for 2 weeks. And like one coat sealed all the gaps and things. And you can buy, even on Amazon, like 25-litre drums of this stuff for 70 quid. Like, I wonder if I can just clean all the gravel and moss off my roof.
Is it called Chromopol?
There's loads of different brands.
Okay. Because I used one before at my old house. We had a very thin leak coming in around the boiler flue.
Yeah.
And I just boshed some of that on, and then I ended up doing the whole roof with one tub, and I think it was only about 30 quid.
Yeah.
And I have not had an issue since. I think it's got fiberglass in the stuff that I bought.
Okay. No, I don't think
kind of
this has.
Reinforced or whatever.
Yeah, it's just a thick paint.
Oh.
But there's nothing really wrong with the roof that I know of. It's just, well, there was a leak where the roof meets the house.
Yeah.
The single story meets the two-story. And clearly it'd been there for a while because there's some clear silicon that someone's had a go at.
Yeah.
And I just got some flashing tape and put it along thinking, oh, that would do for 6 months until I fix the roof. But it's been well over a year now, and like I've been out there and looked, I'm like, oh, I did actually quite a nice job of that, and it's actually solved it, no problem. I don't know why they do it with flat roofs, where they cover them in gravel.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and they do that, but because the rain comes and it moves the gravel and creates little puddles, little pools for the water to go into, and then the moss grows.
I think the gravel is just to stop the UV rays getting to the felt, because I think the UV rays damage the felt and crack it.
Okay.
But I think the more modern stuff doesn't have that gravel on the top, I think. I don't know.
So I thought, as soon as it gets to spring, I'll get out there, because I can literally climb out my bedroom window onto the roof, so it's easy to do. I'll clean all the moss and the gravel off. I don't think there's any cracks or anything, because there's no water ingress. Like, as soon as you've got a crack and standing water, you know about it.
Yeah.
And then I'll give it a coat of paint. If it costs me 70 quid to do 2 coats, like, well, even if I have to do the roof, then it's like I've lost 70 quid. Compared to 5 grand, it's nothing. But it's also the coldest bit of the house so I think the flat roof isn't insulated. So I kind of wanted to, I hate flat roofs. I thought, let's make it a single pitch, let's insulate it. But actually, if I just like give myself some peace of mind that it's not going to leak, then I could do it for 70 quid. And now I'm thinking, oh, I like the sound of £70 more than 5,000.
Especially after paying for a new boiler, I bet.
Yeah, especially paying for a new boiler. And if I'm thinking I want to move, if I was like going to stay for the rest of my life, like, I want that insulated so the room's warm. But if I'm going to sell in a couple of years, then it's like, oh, let's just make it not look awful. But that's the trouble, isn't it? Everyone does that, and then the next homeowner goes, oh, I've got to sort this problem out. But they got a nice new boiler, so that's fine. Yeah.
Even though things are starting to get sorted here, there's still so many things I need to do. Our driveway at the front, we've got a drainage issue out there, so we need a new... We've already had a new soakaway put in, but I've decided to add in another soakaway. So that's going to be 3 soakaways around the bungalow now, because we just get so much water. We're kind of like the lowest bungalow on the street, so all of the neighbours' water comes to us. Then we've got the busy road, and then when cars go past, they push all of the water into our garden. So there's just so much water to deal with, and I just can't keep on top of it. So I've dug the hole for the soakaway. I've put the crates in, I've wrapped the membrane round, I've put the gravel round and everything. It's just basically a 2-crate soakaway, but I had to dig down 1.4 metres, I think I went down in the end, by probably about 1,200 mil by maybe 2 metres.
And did you use a digger?
No, did it all by hand.
Wow.
I've still got to dig out a large trench to put some channel drains in at the bottom of the driveway. But kind of the reason for not filming all of this, well, there's 2 reasons. One, because I've done a soakaway video recently, and that did really well, so perhaps it's a bad idea not to do a video on the second one, but I kind of just wanted to get it done.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I just don't want to faff around with the camera. And the second reason is, may not comply with all of the building regs. I know the first one didn't either, technically, because it's a little bit too close to the boundary and a little bit close to our bungalow, but I've seen so many professionals put soakaways in 10 times worse than we did ours.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law had one put in recently, and they put 1 crate in, which is nowhere near enough, and then they wrapped it in, instead of using geotextile membrane, which obviously allows water to pass through but not silt or soil to pass through, they used the wrapper that came with the crate, the plastic wrapper that came with the crate.
So no water can get in?
The water that goes through the pipe can get in, but no water from the ground above it can get in. And you just think, what are you thinking? I don't know. I don't want to go off on another tradesman rant, but yeah, I've seen so many soakaways installed incorrectly by professionals that I'm not going to take any flack for not doing it properly myself.
No.
Because it's just, at least mine's going to work. I can't finish that job. I can't dig the trenches for the channel drains yet, because as soon as I dig the trench for the channel drains, we can't turn around in the drive because we need to have a turning circle in the drive. And I'm waiting for my cousin to get back to me about redoing our driveway, because all of the concrete is broken up and it's just not right. It's just turned to mush basically. So that all needs to be jackhammered up and then reconcreted. So I'm planning to do the channel drains like a couple of days before he does that, and then it should all be done hopefully at that point.
Yeah, well, you wanted to keep fit this year, and I think this you could have invented a new fitness thing, soak away fitness.
First batch of digging I came in that evening and I felt really knackered, but Ria cooked me this massive meal. I think it's a massive Yorkshire pudding, actually. She might have been inspired by your video, because it was shortly after your video and she watched that, so she probably thought, I haven't done toad in a hole in a while. So I had this mammoth Yorkshire pudding and with sausages, and then I was just ruined after that for the next 12 hours. I just didn't move because every muscle in my body just ached. I'm not cut out for this digging lark. I don't know how professionals do digging day in, day out. It's the worst job. Anything ground related, digging related, hate it.
It's weird because we're both woodworkers. You think you're on your feet all day doing physical stuff, and then when you do something that's really physical, you realise, woodworking's not that hard. Yeah.
I need to make a 12-metre long fence. And I was chatting to Aidan at the Aidan project, and he mentioned a project that he did years ago using rebar and some timber. And he sent me a couple of pictures, and I thought, this is a really good idea. I could do something like that, and it would be a lot cheaper than all of the other options I'd considered. So I was like, do you mind if I sort of pinch that? And he's like, yeah, go ahead. So
I need to do a fence, but they're so, as you say, it's so expensive, the materials.
Yeah, I mean, initially I bought some railings to go up. They're called bow top railings, so they've kind of got the semicircle arcs at the top, and then they're sort of 12 millimeter poles going down. But then we kind of lifted them up in position, and they're just way too tall for what we need. So I need to sell them again and go back to the drawing board.
See, I want a 6-foot fence, but the products have improved since last time I kind of did one with my dad type thing, because you used to put in wooden posts and things that would always rot, as now you get the aluminium ones that look really good. I mean, they're not the prettiest thing, but I'd rather have something that's going to last, and you can just, if a panel goes, obviously you just drop a new one in. Yeah. And I like that kind of system.
Yeah, because with fences, you've kind of got the fence panel option of just buying a 6-foot by 6-foot fence and fitting that to some posts. Or you could do the whole Arris rail, cant rail, and then what are the slats called that go on?
The feather edge.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's just so much more expensive doing it that way.
Yeah, it seems to be.
It looks nice.
It's probably better quality, though, than the panels, I guess.
Yeah, it'd take a lot more time, I think.
Yeah.
But if you did the whole postcrete or something, and just the posts, it's like, it's not actually... It was one of those jobs that kind of intimidated me, and then I did some research, and it's achingly simple, really.
Yeah.
It's just probably need close to £1,000 in materials and a few days to do it, and the motivation.
Yes. Is the fence to go up at the back then?
Yeah, I've got almost like a picket fence between me and one neighbour. So it's, annoy people and go imperial and say 3 feet high. 90 centimetres.
Okay.
But of course, they walk out into their garden, I walk into my garden, we might as well be in the same garden.
It's okay if you like your neighbours, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't particularly. I hope they're not listening.
Well, funnily enough, we've got some 4-foot fence panels in our garden that our neighbour actually had the same concerns as you, that you could just basically, almost like being in the same garden as your neighbour. and he's extended them. So he's put on a section at the top.
Yeah.
So that might be an option.
They've done that to like 3 panels, but they've done it in the weirdest way. Like they've made it really complicated because the posts have I guess they're 45-degree angles cut at the top. So they've cut another piece at 45 and put it on top. And like, why would you not just screw it to the side so it's got massive support? And then when the wind goes, the whole thing moves around like a sail. Like, yeah, I mean, this is just all going to fall down and probably smash into my workshop and damage it.
Oh no. Do you know if it's your fence or your neighbour's fence?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's my fence, and they've done all this just one day without even talking to me about it. And it's weird because I'd added the posts, these aluminium posts, to my basket on Wix. Like, I'm going to do that this year.
Yeah.
And start buying the stuff. Just because you do Wix orders, like, right, I'll add 4 posts on and just build up.
To try and get the free delivery kind of thing.
Yeah, to get the free delivery.
Yeah.
And then they've come back and done this. Like, oh, well, sod it then. I'm not bothering until it all falls over.
If they can't even be bothered to talk to you about it.
Yeah, and then I'll charge them because they broke it. Oh, I think that's just strange to go, we're just going to do this thing without even consulting you.
Yeah, it is odd.
Because if they said about it, I'd have probably just gone, oh, don't worry, I'll make that my next job. Because it could be a video. Yeah. And just go, I'll build the fence. Because I would like it. Because I kind of feel I don't want to do anything into the garden until I've done this fence.
Yeah.
I almost hate going out there because I don't like working when people can see me working, which is the weirdest thing to say for a YouTuber.
I'm exactly the same. I mean, I've had invites for things like Maker Central where they're like, oh, maybe you could do some sort of demonstration. It's like, no, I absolutely cannot do that.
Yeah. I edit my videos to hide all the mistakes and still people spot all the mistakes. Imagine if it was live, how many mistakes I just get destroyed. Like you're doing that wrong, you haven't got your PPE correct.
I see it almost as, you know, if you're typing an email or something and someone's kind of looking over your shoulder and then you're hitting all of the wrong keys and it's like, I just need a minute just to do this.
Hello, Matt here. It takes us quite a lot of time to prepare and produce each episode of this podcast, and we'd like to keep putting it out for free. If you enjoy the podcast and you'd like to help, support and shape future episodes, you can find a link to our Patreon page in the show notes or just search online for Workshop Banter Patreon. Thank you, and now back to the podcast.
I'm making a cabinet this week, a couple of doors to hang and then it's done, but I wanted to make it interesting. So I think I'm going to call the video something along the lines of how to make an MDF cabinet but less boring or something like that. And I think I've found 5 or 6 different things that I've done differently to make it so that it doesn't just look like something that came out of a flat pack shop. It's got some hardwood accents as well because I ripped out some old cabinet doors from our bathroom when we renovated the bathroom. Kind of like, not floor to ceiling, but maybe 6-7 foot tall. And I salvaged all the wood from them back then. So I've been milling that all up and making the shelves from that timber. Because all of this timber was like stained, almost like a dark red colour. And I planed it all down and it's all different species of wood. So I was planning to use it all together, but you can see like by the grain and the colourings, you know, every single piece that went through the planer is like almost different to the last. It's like, how am I going to make this all look similar? But in the end, I just kind of put some tung oil on just to see how it would look. And I quite like the different shades now. The oil really mellowed it and kind of made them look not so different. You can still see they're all different, but they don't look out of place kind of thing. So I'm going to go with that. I was considering staining them all a dark colour, but I wanted to avoid it.
And I guess you're painting the body of the cabinet.
Yep. I'm painting it the same colour as the room that it's going in because I almost want it to be invisible from one angle kind of thing. And I've used leather for the doors.
Ooh.
So yeah, that's kind of the wackiest idea.
Where's it going to go? What's it a cabinet for?
It's going to be a firewood cabinet.
Oh. You've been talking about this for years. How you're going to store your firewood.
Basically, when I spoke to Medite about this originally, it was like late October and I was like, I want to do a firewood cabinet. They were like, yeah, sounds great kind of thing. I got the material, I think, last week. So it's like, it's a bit too late to do a firewood video now. Winter's nearly over.
Oh, I'm very interested in this because I've never heard of a firewood cabinet, but it makes so much sense because, well, firewood's dirty, bits fall off of it.
Yeah.
It's scruffy a lot of the time.
Yep.
My mum's got this puppy and they got a log basket and I give her all my offcuts as kindling. The dog jumps into the basket, scrabbles around, picks out a bit of kindling it likes, and then comes out and chews it. Like, oh, a cabinet there with doors would be fantastic because I made the alcove shelves, so if a cabinet went under. But then I'm not going to suggest this because it's just more work for me.
I'm going to have to pick out all of my most aesthetic looking pieces of firewood to make a thumbnail from, kind of thing. Because most of my scrap wood is just bits that are really ugly. So I'm going to have to pick some logs or something. Yeah,
you have to actually buy some real firewood.
I've got a bunch of conifer that I need to chop up, so I'll probably do that.
Yeah, my mum gets all the hardwood logs delivered, and I look at them like, oh, these would be lovely to like carve spoons out of and things. Yeah. This is all like, this must have been chopped out of some really nice wood. Like, it seems such a shame to be burning it.
Yeah.
I've been looking for a hardwood supplier near me, and it's just, we've had this conversation so many times. It's so hard to buy any kind of hardwood locally. But logs you can get everywhere.
Yeah, I went to a new timber yard the other day. I was going to pick something up off Facebook Marketplace and I just so happened to be passing it, and I thought I might just poke my head in and see if I can have a look around, because I've mentioned this before, most timber yards around here actually won't let you walk around the yard and see the stuff and pull out the bits you want. But this place, I just kind of poked my head in the office and said, is it all right if I have a look around? And he's like, yeah, go through, help yourself. So I had a wander around. It was good. They had a bit of everything, really. It was nice to have a wander.
Nice prices?
I didn't ask for the prices.
That's the trouble, isn't it?
Yeah.
One day you'll need something special, and if you can go there.
I'd much rather go there than any other place because, like I say, you can at least have a look around and pick out the bits you want.
Yeah, I found one online that looks like almost like a farm that has a yard that's mainly just oak, but it's all kind of smallish pieces. So it's not that far. So when we're out and about one day, I'll call in and have a look.
Yeah, because a lot of your projects are smaller things as well, so you probably don't need the massive slabs or anything, do you?
No, but I'm on a mission this year because I've had to clear the shed out to just... You see how much wood you've got?
Use stuff up kind of thing.
Yeah, like I made the drawer unit and I just tried to use every little... like I didn't buy any wood whatsoever, I had to buy the casters. And I'm actually kind of need 2 little slithers of OSB to finish it, but... I'm not buying a sheet of OSB for this, but I know I will need to, and I'll just, when I've got the scraps, I'll fill it in. But it's quite nice setting yourself that challenge of, I guess a bit like you, I'm going to use these bits of painted wood that are all different species, just to use them up.
This shed that you mentioned earlier that you've bought, have you assembled it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's all up.
They're so easy to...
You didn't do a video about it.
I think it'd mainly have been one of Matt's moaning monologues because, I mean, I've got every tool imaginable and I was doing it on my own, okay, but I had to go and get different screws and clamps. Like, you see, read the terrible reviews on these things and I totally understand it. If you're just a normal house owner, not particularly a DIYer, and you just think, well, it's a product that you, like an IKEA bit of furniture that you can just put together. They're not like that at all.
Yeah.
You need to, the instructions are terrible. You have to
fiddle with them a lot.
You have to fiddle with them, yeah. The door didn't fit at all. It was a good 5mm wide in the gap because of wood movement, I guess. But for me, I just got the track saw, whiz a bit off. But what do you do if you haven't got... It says you need a drill to put it together.
Yeah.
Not everyone's got even if you've got a handsaw, it's a long rip doing a door, isn't it? If you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes me laugh as well. Like when I made the shed that I built years ago, which I used 2x2 for the uprights for, a lot of my comments said, you know, oh, I would have used 4x2. And you think, these sheds that are prefabricated, they're not even 1x2. They're like, I don't know, what, 12 mil by 30 mil battens sometimes. And, you know, it's surprising they even take the weight of a human on top of them to put the felt on.
Yes. Oh, yeah, because from the inside, I can push the roof and it all flexes, but I was up on it. No, it's amazing how little material you can actually get away with to make things. Because when I built my shed, I did it by 3x2s, and people are like, "Oh, that doesn't look strong enough." Like, you're joking. It's, you know.
I'm sure you could probably park a car on top of a 3x2.
You would easily be able to park a car on top of that,
as long as your sheet material or your joists were strong enough.
Yeah, but yeah, Pete, I think that's a real trouble with woodworkers, particularly maybe amateur woodworkers, is you over-engineer things.
Yeah.
As when you see professionals, even when you watch people like Peter doing fitted furniture, like, oh, you could just whack some screws in this.
Yeah.
4 bits of wood and whack screws in. Then you're going to fill it and paint it. The finished cabinet will look exactly the same. And while it's in an alcove, the screws are more than strong enough. It's not like it's going to be moved around or shipped. Like, there's no need. I think as woodworkers we get obsessed with, we're going to cut joinery and things. And it's fine if you want to do it as a hobby, but it doesn't need it.
It needs to be strong enough for the purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Everyone likes the belt and braces approach, don't they? I need to build a shed this year, actually, for my brother. And I'm trying to think about how to do it. And he's given me... he hasn't really given me a budget as such, but he said we haven't got any money to spend on it. So I think I'm going to do a kind of, can I build a shed for less than the price of buying one kind of thing.
That's interesting.
I've got a few ideas about how it might work. Like, for example, I'm thinking doing a pitched roof because, and then using some scraps of plywood as gussets to kind of support the weight of the A-frame, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're great because you can prefab them as well, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. That's the other idea I had, is that I can pretty much cut it all, load it all in my car, drive over there, and we can assemble it hopefully in a day, probably in 2 days, but we'll see. And he's going to do the base and everything himself, so I don't have to worry about that, which would be nice.
Do a slab.
I think he's got these, what he's got in mind are these, like, they're like plastic pallets. Don't know if you've seen them. They almost look like soak-away crates. In fact, when I was doing my latest soak-away, I wondered whether I could use them instead. They're basically pallet-shaped and pallet-sized, but they're plastic. And he's just going to lay out about 6 of those, put some joists across, and job done.
Do you fill them with gravel?
I don't think you even need to. They take a hell of a lot of weight, apparently.
I've never seen those.
No, I hadn't seen them either. He mentioned them, and I looked them up on Facebook Marketplace, and there's a bunch of people selling them around here, so yeah. Because
for my shed, I just use those plastic grid things that you fill with gravel.
Yeah, that's a great option, though.
It's so cheap, and it's just a wooden shed, but it gets it off the ground.
Yeah, helps drainage, which is all you need.
Helps drainage, yeah. Just the ground was already flat, and it's just I kind of thought, I'll do it one afternoon. I reckon that'd take me 3 hours, and I had it done in the base down in an hour. Yeah, and it's nice when that happens. Like, that's so easy, and it's just a shed. But it annoys me because I thought, can I build a shed? But for £350, I think the cheapest I could have done something that size would have been more like £600.
Yeah.
But then I saw Robin Clevitt the other day did an Instagram reel where he had some 2.4 metre 3x2s at £1.90 in a yard. That might have been plus VAT, but still he's going, we're back to pre-pandemic timber prices.
Sounds cheaper than pre-pandemic timber prices around here, but
I remember when I built my mum's, and I kept trying to put her off because I was like, they were under £2 a length 3x2s, and at the time they were more like £5.50. And when you need 100, it's a significant and like cheap materials, like everything. Like, if you can wait, you never knew if they were ever going to come down, did you? But now, better. It's just Baltic birch is just the thing that you just can't get.
And the fact that there's still no viable alternative to it either. Like, why hasn't anyone manufactured something using less premium wood that's viable, that grows quickly in another country that
I guess these forests just take almost a generation to grow. But yeah, the bamboo stuff has never really been mainly available.
Again, like, I don't want to speak about it as if the US get everything and we don't, but they do get a lot more a lot more options there. It's like the whole, we talked about it before, carbide tipped bandsaw blades. We can't get those here.
No.
I've tried. Maybe I could look at importing one from the US.
Yeah. One of our listeners, I remember, recommended the Tough Saws, their most expensive one, and said they're really good. But when I got my Axminster bandsaw, they sent me something like 8 blades, and to be honest, I think I'm still on the 2 blades that I first put on. The kind of one for cutting curves, one for ripping. But because sometimes you break them or you hit a nail, and that's the thing with a bandsaw blade. You've just destroyed it. With a circular saw blade, like, I've cut through nails and screws, like, it's still absolutely 100% fine. I'm touching wood now. I've managed to look after these bandsaw blades.
I've ruined one this week, actually.
Oh, no.
Cutting firewood.
Yeah.
So, if you're cutting something like a small log on the bandsaw, and occasionally it will kind of grab.
Yeah.
Not in a dangerous way where it twists or whatever, because I'm very careful about that. I'm very conscious of it because I know how scary it can be. But it yanked on the wrong part of the log in some way and then kind of developed a bit of a kink.
Yeah.
So every time it goes round, it goes rung, 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 kind of thing. So, yeah, I had to replace that. But I like a nice narrow blade, probably, are they 6mm? I think they're 6mm.
Yeah.
But the only one I had in stock was a 3/4 inch one, an 18mm, which is obviously way wider. So I can't really cut curves anymore. But I made a cut with it the other day. It's so clean. I was really happy with it.
I think my ideal thing would be to have a big bandsaw that I had a rip blade on.
2 bandsaws is the way to go, isn't it? I think.
The curves, I hardly ever want to cut curves in big bits of material.
Yeah.
So I could really get away with one of those couple of £100 tabletop ones.
Benchtop ones,
Benchtop ones. But my workshop, I don't have room for that. I'd have to get rid of something else because I've moved the miter saw back in.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah.
Just because it had to come out the shed. Like, well, what do I do with it? I don't want to put it in the new shed because they're so insecure, those.
Yeah.
Like, I could lean on it and put my hand through the wall. So that's just... It's got windows in it. Well, they're not windows. They're bits of cling film. But it's just full of wood and tins of paint. If anyone looks through the window, like, there's nothing worth...
Yeah.
Even wasting your time. The miter saw, like, I don't want to get rid of it. Like, because you've got rid of yours at the workshop, but you haven't got rid of the saw, have you?
No, it sits in our storeroom.
Yeah.
To be honest, it very rarely comes out.
But when you build a shed, that might be your most used...
I don't think so. I think I'd rather just use the circular saw.
See, I'm not a circular saw fan. You are.
Yeah, I do love a circular saw. Yeah.
I love a miter saw station. If I want them all, everything like 1.8 metres long, set up a stop and just batch them out.
I used to love that way of working, but there's something about doing projects outside and just using a circular saw that make it really enjoyable for me for some reason.
I think I'd like it more if I had one of those really expensive ones. This is my answer to everything, though. I think Maffel and Festool do, and they just have that incredibly short rail that the saw's attached to all the time.
Right.
And then you can just... It must have a foot on it or something to make it square, so you just put it up to your pens, and then you've got a perfectly square cut. Yeah. And that looks great.
Shall we move on to recommendations?
Yeah.
So I've been really enjoying Vicky Carpenter's Daughter channel since she moved home. I look forward to it every Sunday. I think she releases it now, Sunday evening, and it's just been great seeing the work she's been doing on her home. It feels like she's kind of really found her stride in terms of videos. She's doing the more kind of walking, talking, and being filmed by her partner as well. Yeah. And I just think it lends itself so well to the videos that she's making. Kind of like the Anne of all trades kind of vibe.
Yeah.
It suits her content so well, and I've just really been enjoying her stuff. So, yeah, The Carpenter's Daughter.
No, she's great. That more relaxed style is definitely good. And it's such a big project, and she's braver than me.
Huge property.
Huge property with a lot of work to be done to it. Yeah. And not to be fazed by all these problems.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've mentioned him before, but Bisch Basch Bosch made the cabinet, and I forgot what he said, like 70% less plywood than normal, making these little
strips of ply.
Yeah, these L brackets, and it's interesting because I think you see it a lot in product design. Like, I have some shelving units for the shed that are metal, and it's amazing how little you get this tiny box delivered to make this big shelving unit, and these industrial designers manage to strip it away to the absolute minimum you can get away with.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want the cabinet he's made in your living room, but in the workshop, yeah, why not? Just, do you need solid panels? You can get away with so much less material. And the way he's made them so they stack on top of each other, like, that's really clever. Modular design is great.
Modular design, and also just incredibly resourceful. I'm constantly throwing away thin rips of plywood and MDF.
Yep.
It's nice to be able to find a use for them, I think.
Absolutely. You regret throwing them away now.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. You can find Keith on YouTube by searching for Rag N Bone Brown, and me by searching for Badger Workshop. We have a Patreon page if you'd like to help support us in making future episodes of the podcast. Link to that in the show notes. And we have a Workshop Banter Instagram and Facebook page if you'd like to get in touch, which is @WorkshopBanter, all one word.